weeks and get the 5th week free pretty much. He is a thoroughbred and he's off the track but coming from the trainers themselves to keep for their daughter, I believe. And she wants to take him to Pony Club and do probably a bit of eventing and all that kind of stuff. So he's been here kind of getting all the basics established, and he's been a real sweetheart. So he gets picked up tomorrow, so we're just going through now all the exercises, things we've been working on and all that kind of stuff to give them some homework, and for anyone that's training something similar to Will, might be interesting. Yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, so Will is the type of thoroughbred that he's not hot, he's not fizzy, he's just got the sweetest temperament. He's really genuine and quiet, but he needs us to encourage him a little bit and get him a little bit motivated to do all the jobs. So when he first came, he definitely lacked suppleness through his rib cage, both sides, especially to the left though, so that meant that he fell in really badly to the left, and you know, he was still falling a bit to the right, but not as bad. And the other thing that we did notice with him as well, although he can be really lovely in the contact, and he will be, he's going to be very nice, have nice outline, he found it really hard. He was a little bit weak in his thumb muscles behind the saddle and his hind quarter, so he found it kind of hard to push off enough and create enough energy to find his own balance and connection into the bridle and start to come a little softer, rounder in his own balance. So that was the first time I rode him. To get him to, especially shows up through the transition. So the first time I rode him when I was going for walk and trot, it was a real, you have to really come off the bit, and then when you generated some energy and got him really forward to trot, or in trot, he would start to soften up a little bit. So one of the main things where we're at now, he's improved loads with all of that, but where we're at now, we're really starting to make loads of walk-trot transitions, especially. The walk-to-trot transition itself is probably one of the most important things for him to do. It's a measure of how much he can start to push off in that transition and strengthen everything behind the saddle, basically. And I kind of look at that by how soft I can keep him through that transition. I carry my whip already on him, even though it's early days, but not to get him to make a transition. So I won't use it, like if he feels lazy or whatever, I don't use it for that reason, but I use it on his hindquarters when I'm asking him to go forward off my leg and I feel like he's going to come off the bit and not push off his bum. That's when I'll tap him up a little bit. He's really good with the whip and he accepts that, so that's good. The other time I'll use it is when I'm going around. If I'm working on him, if he's falling in a little bit, I'll kind of flick it and carry it a bit more like this, and then I can kind of use it on his shoulder. Yeah, you can see that, and he'll move away from that, and it just reinforces my leg aid. So to be clear, when I'm asking for him to push off both hindquarters more, I use both of my legs, and if I don't kind of feel like I'm getting a reaction, I'll tap him up with the hip. If I feel like when I want him to move sideways from my inside leg into my outside rein, I will use just one leg, my inside leg, and if I don't get a response there, I'll back that up with the whip on his shoulder, just like that. So yeah, they're definitely the two things he's really starting to work on, and building his suppleness and his strength. And we're just going to look at some work today that we've kind of, where he's up to after 5 weeks of retraining. So yeah, basically before I go, I have been kind of playing around things as we've been talking, but when I'm walking, I can even just change the tempo of his walk a little bit. So it's all about when I touch the reins a little, and I kind of use that to initiate what I'm asking for, and then follow up with my seat a little, which he's only just learning, so we are going to have to explain things to him with the rein a little. So I want to slow the walk down. As you can see, that's it. When I slow the walk down, he tries to come against the hand a little bit, so I just gently vibrate the rein to unlock the bit, and then I keep both legs kind of working to get him to stay active, and then I push him forward again. So even just simply like this is kind of, you got to sort of think about it as therapeutic riding for him. We're kind of doing his Pilates at the moment. So we're going to bring him back again. Both reins ask the front feet to slow down, so I'm going to ask with my little vibrate. It'll sit a little heavy, my tummy muscles will be on. Yeah, and until I feel a change in the tempo and a shift in the balance. Yeah, good. And then both legs come on. and the hindquarters come through, and then he softens and he finds his own really light, stretchy feeling, which is really nice. So simple, really easy. You know, he can do this a lot. You get a lot of benefit from it because the walk has less momentum than the trot. You kind of it's a good gauge. Yeah, great, good one, Will. Super. And the moment, yeah, so we're looking for him to shift the weight from his front end onto his hind legs, which means we then have to kind of activate the hind legs with our legs or our whip, as I was just talking about. I'm going to do one more of them, and then yeah, I'm going to pretty much go on with this side. So I've been doing a little bit of extra work on the left side because that was the side that lacked more bend. Right, so taking the speed away, we want to try and keep him straight when we do this. See my leg when he gets stuck. So I also want to think any resistance we have, I need more hindquarter with him. You know, he's a genuine horse. If he's feeling a bit against the hand or coming off the bit, it's probably because he's a little bit underpowered behind, which happens when I ask him to slow down at the moment. He's still figuring that out. So always thinking if he's giving you a bit of resistance, that we're going to add a little bit more leg, get a good response to the leg, and that will usually fix it. Okay, so after that, when I've got that basic established, I'll just go to my trot, and I'll just be looking for forward trot in balance, and then I'll start to play around with that and bring it back, send it forward, and yeah. So once I've made those changes in the walk, you know, quicker walk, make him wait, push him on again, which is warming up his back, warming up his hindquarters. He's definitely still weak behind and working through some suppleness issues. So once I get to trot, I kind of just want to think about getting the activity in the hind leg, finding his balance, because he does still trip a little bit here and there. And just thinking about having enough energy that I can sit really straight, really square, just keep my hands at the front, make the corrections that I need to make, but then be still. So I'm either thinking here of correcting or I'm going to be softening. So even here I feel like I don't quite have enough power in the trot, there we go, to really get him as straight as I want and keep those hind legs coming active. I need a little bit more oomph, but it's hard because, you know, I don't want him to then get, there we go. I've just got to kind of build that oomph. I can't just go from 0 to 100. There we go. I just encourage him with little movements in my wrist. When I build the trot, to say, hey, stay with me. And if he comes up a bit like that, you'll see I'll kick more as my primary aid there. So as he tries to kind of come off the bit so that it makes life easier for him, he doesn't have to work so hard, I'll just be like, no, little turn, little flexion, and then he'll reconnect. And he's still green, he's still weak, so this isn't going to happen overnight. So now I'm going to just show as well when he gets weak now, using the whip on his bum a little bit. You'll see there. It's important that I maintain my flexion. When I ask him to move away from my right leg, I want him to push over. I'll kind of make a little squeeze on my left rein, just showing where I want him to go. Introduce a little bit more straightening on this left side now. So on the outside, and you're saying, come on, bring that shoulder over. My right leg will still be there, so he doesn't fall in or tip over. But I'm basically treating my left leg like an inside leg right now and riding him across into my right rein. Riding him nearly right leg, but forward off the outside leg to the left. And then one and then the other. Try to get two at once. Okay, now I kind of feel like I've unlocked a new level of straightness. I'm going to try and build a bit of trot now without losing that. See if I can get a little bit more push. I can use the straightness if it comes against the hand as a first attempt to re-find connection. If that doesn't work, I can then slow them down and use the tempo, which I'm going to do now. So up against the weight. Up against the weight. We just have to keep correcting. And here's blocks. Both brains say, don't. So I just use a vibration so that it doesn't become a tug of war. You know, if I just pulled back on him without moving my fingers, we would just be tug of warring and he would win that for sure. That's not effective. Okay, so just with the wind, and I haven't figured out, we need to get a little microphone or something to be able to do these, but it's going to be hard to hear me because I'm going to ride the canter on an oval shape. The reason I'm going to do that is because it's hard for him to keep the stamina up on a tight circle. You know, I'm going to go a little bit longer, so I have a few bits of bit more straightness where I can push him towards the wall a little bit, and then I can use the short sides of the oval to kind of keep turning him a little. So with the canter, he's still, especially the left canter is weaker, and he's definitely too weak in the left canter to come back and forward in the canter much. It's just going to be about maintaining a rhythm and trying to find a balance. And what I'm going to be looking for, especially in the left canter, is that he's bending his reflection. Okay? And when I go to trot to canter again, it's like anytime I make an upper transition with him, getting his hind quarter active enough to, and strong enough to push off and stay around. He probably won't stay around in the trot canter, but I'll try and set him up as best I can by pushing him over, getting him organised, making sure he's forward so I've got the power to get there. And then I might stop and talk about the right canter before I do that as well, because I'm not going to talk much about it. It's also kind of second day of spring, third day of spring today, and it's kind of hot even though it's going to rain. But I'm getting tough talking and riding at the same time. Okay. So yeah, same thing before I go to trot. Let's get the energy in the walk to give us the best chance of him staying sort of connected in the transition itself. And then I'll do the same kind of idea towards the trot. You probably will see me using the whip on his shoulder a little bit just to help me pick it up if he starts to tip a little bit in the canter and try and motorbike around the turns, which he does do sometimes. Right, so that shoulder. my leg when he argues rather than my hand. When he first started canoeing, he was literally tipping over to the inside like full motorbike. So he's definitely carrying himself and trying to bend around there. It's just only so much, you know, you can get done while you're still doing all that. So basically the priority, I was using my right rein a lot, as in to say a little half-halt and then kicking in from my left leg across into it. I was using the whip on the shoulder to back me up. As I said, you know, if you have a more sensitive horse, you might need to not do that so much. He's not the most sensitive in a good way, you know, he's easy to kick along and he doesn't tend to overreact. And then you can see, the more you do, and trying to get the quality back in the trot afterwards. Oh, we're ready to go again, apparently. Trying to get the quality back is really important because after you have a canter, he tends to get a little rigid because he feels tired, he feels weak, and he tries to lean or tip again. So I just have to get my speed back. So as soon as you come back from cantering, it's get the speed under control. So he starts to find his balance again, and then yield him around, make him supple before you have a break. Now I'm going to do the right canter. The right canter is a bit further along than the left, so I may be able to make a few adjustments to my canter, but I'll be just prioritising my straightness. I'm going to keep my whip in the left hand, I think, because I might need to help manoeuvre that shoulder to the right. We'll see, hopefully I don't regret that and want it on the right hand when I get going, but yeah, just going to do that, and then I'm just going to show you guys the trot walk transitions that I've been doing. So yeah, so already here before I got to trot, again, set up the trot, set up the canter. I'm just going to be thinking, I can feel like he's sort of leaning on my left a little bit. I'm going to try and move that bend. He feels a lot more balanced, he feels stronger on the right hind, which we know you can kind of feel that throughout the whole work. And yeah, it was actually a matter of kind of getting the bend and then making sure I had enough power in the canter. Whereas the other way, it was just about kind of finding balance and whatever supplements I could find. So that was kind of different. So I kind of had to keep kicking him with my right leg a little, say, come on, push more, we can counter more than that, and try to push more. I'm just going to show you guys one more thing. Totally goes with what we've already been doing. But I think it's probably one of the most important things for him therapeutically to do moving forward. And basically, what I want to do is, I do it in sitting trot because I can best feel the back. You don't have to, you can do it rising, and it's really slow, it's hardly even trot, so it's totally fine at this stage of his training to do these little snippets. It just helps me to regulate his back and feel all the little bits. So here I'm just asking him, kick with my right leg, asking him to really supple there. And what I want him to really do, again, right leg, right leg, right leg. So you can see then when he came up a bit, I didn't pull back and get involved, but just kind of open my inside hand to say that's where we're going. And my right leg was like, yeah, that's where we're going, yeah, okay. See, what I'm looking for is like just a few short strides of jog. It's not a jog because we do need a little bit of energy, but I want the consistency in the hind leg. And I really need him to be straight and supple before I ask, and active. Yeah. I will use my whip on his thumb. This one, if I feel like he's trying to go but he feels stuck, okay? So you can keep an eye on that to see when I kind of use it and stuff. Straight leg. See if I can generate the energy in that hind quarter without, see there, he's not allowed to go past my reins and run through my hand. The energy should go straight up from the hind quarter over his back, through my reins into the bin. I'll take that. Good. I just want to sit here and do exactly what I was doing before. So find my straightness. Make sure, see there, he wants to run that energy through there and not relax. Block me and lean on me, make me do all the work. And then when I get this, I reward, come back. And what I'm hoping to do, so what, that took me about a circle, I would say. I want to get to that point where he's letting go and balance and feeling good a little quicker. So that's all going to be in how good I can get this walk feeling. Good boy, stay with me there. Much more balance to begin with, but I still want to be like, I can take speed away. Yeah, so you see, don't keep stepping as I make the trot slower. Make it harder. I have to keep my body position as independent as possible. Carry my hands, use my legs to help me get around this circle. Good. That was heaps better. So each time should get a little better. But again, in walking, I lost the straightness when I came down there. So yeah, and that straightness helps unlock this. If I feel the moment there, I'll just take it. Ideally, I like to be able to set my balance, keep those hind legs regular and active. Be able to, yeah, see there he came off a bit, so leg. I want him to stay there even without me keeping contact. It's good, he doesn't get faster, which is nice. But he can't take, I don't want him to take advantage and start to lean. He is tired, so I get what you're doing in this turn up there, but let's see. This is a great way to start reaching. Stretch as well. Reach. He's allowed to go down, but not lean. He still has to be able to carry himself and not feel like kind of clunky. Right, one more. I did a little less setup that time because I felt like I had it. It wasn't paying. Not quite straight. It leans. Sit tall. Move my wrists. Keep my leg on. And then if I get him to this point, I can then play around with the trot and I can do a little more. And I can start to say, alright, well, let's be straight. More energy left time. Left side push. Down. And then I can kind of make a half-halt in the trot. Yeah, and then go again. Half-halt in the trot. Then once it legs, the other relax. It's really generous with the softening. long where he stays fully with me. I need the energy first. I need the straightness always. Ready? And leg. Oh, come on, Will, we're so close. Leg. Leg. That's good. Okay. Shoulder. This shoulder. Okay, great. I'm going to use that. Wait. Against my head. So take feet away. This hand in more gauntlet. Invite him to stretch in balance. There you go. Give him some space. And I only put my hands forward when he takes the reach. Because I've gone rising, I don't want him to get really fast. Stay with me. Slowing down, but keeping the hind leg active. Okay, so that's pretty much where Will's at with his training. I really love training him and working on his dressage. It's been an absolute pleasure. He's really smart. He's not your typical thoroughbred, you know. Energy is limited, and we have to kind of build him up, get him, you know, inspired a little bit. But yeah, really thinking this area behind the saddle. How do we work that? You know, the forward and the back. It expands the back and then contracts it, so we're stretching all those muscles over his back and helping him to be supple, but also to build strength. And then, you know, as well thinking about him side to side, where my inside leg is there, that he can reach and become around each inside leg. And he actually hasn't done, one thing he hasn't done much of is sliding out, so that's because he really does respect the outside rein. You know, sometimes I have to give him a kick with the outside leg just to say keep turning, you know, keep staying here. But that's been, you know, it's really been more riding him from the inside leg into that outside rein. So yeah, definitely exciting young horse for the future, I think. So we'll be looking forward to seeing what he gets up to with his new young rider. Well, not new young rider, his young rider.